This video is a follow-up to my recent recipe on deboning and stuffing wild duck legs. This is a classic technique that every serious cook should master. What I'm showing you here is the plain vanilla version though, straight out of 18th century France. There are some notes at the end of this video on how to take this to the next level that will impress absolutely anyone. The technique is not really difficult to master for chicken. For duck and other wild birds, it does take some experience because the skin doesn't come away from the meat so easily and there are more tendons that are difficult to remove. Chicken is where you should practice first, and the results from this will be delicious. Okay, I got our mise en place. We've got 60 grams of onion, 30 grams of celery, 30 grams of carrot cut up. Get some chicken stock standing by, some thyme I'm going to tear off. I've got a clove of garlic, white peppercorns, there's wine standing over here. We're going to begin softening these vegetables. I'm using a heavy bottom pan, and the pan is not hot yet. It's just barely warm. Butter's just starting to melt. We're not looking to brown these. We want to sweat them for quite a while in a low temperature. We do not want to brown these at all. That's why I'm using a very heavy bottom pan. It's always a good idea because thin pans will have hot spots in them, and that's where you get your browning. It's been 7 minutes now at a medium heat. The vegetables are starting to soften. Certainly no brownings going on. Now I'm going to add the garlic to it. You want to add the garlic at the beginning because it burns easier than any of the other vegetables. Incorporated. I'm going to add 45 milliliters, about 1.5 ounces of sherry. You can use white wine if you don't have sherry, or maybe you just prefer it. Sherry is a better choice though. And I'm going to keep cooking this until it becomes almost dry. It's been another 6 or 7 minutes now. This is drying up. It doesn't have to, you just want it to be like syrupy and thick. If you were to cool this down, this would be very thick and sticky right now. So now I'm going to add 90 mils of chicken stock, the ground white pepper, and the thyme, fresh thyme. And we're going to reduce this down some more, back to the same level once again. This heat's like on 5.5 out of 10. Now here we are after the third 7-minute section. So it's been about 21 minutes since I started this now. You can see that most of the moisture has gone. Now you need to taste it a little bit and add salt. Make sure that it's fairly salty because you're going to mix this with chicken meat that has no salt in it at all. So this is your seasoning mix. It needs to be salty. After you're satisfied that you've got the right salt level, just kill the heat, leave it there, let it cool. Now we begin working with the chicken. Okay, much like the duck leg, we're going to begin with the Frenching of this chicken leg. It's really a much easier process on chicken because everything's softer, there's fewer tendons, they're not nearly so nasty and difficult to work with. This is definitely where you want to begin your practice on this sort of thing. But once again, you have to be careful not to break the bone. Don't go crazy because it's you know, chicken's just flesh and blood. It's not a machine with metal parts. So, twist this off. Okay. There's the end of that. Now, unlike the duck where we need pliers, with the chicken, we can take these tendons that are sticking out and just pull them out with your fingers like that. Get rid of them. So you just keep working at it till you get all the ones that are protruding from this cut. Get rid of all of them. When you're satisfied you've got all of those, you turn it over. Now, depending on where you got this chicken quarter from, you may have gotten some rib bones attached. If you butchered it yourself from a whole chicken, you probably don't have that, and that's usually what I like to do. But in this case, because I'm making the video and I just needed the parts, I actually went out and bought chicken quarters that were butchered by somebody else. But usually, your best bet is to always buy whole chickens and do the work yourself. You get much better results and much fresher chicken. But that being beside the point, So we're going to make sure we remove all the little bits of rib here. Now we've got to preserve this chicken skin, and unlike the duck skin, which is a real pain to scrape free of meat, chicken is a breeze. You just pass your fingers under it. It practically comes away with no effort at all, especially compared to duck skin. And just work this back. You know, be a little bit gentle. You don't rip it, but you want to make sure that you keep the skin in one whole piece. And then we're going to turn our attention on the other side here to this bone that runs along here, and you're just going to dig your fingers in, just brute force, dig it in, get underneath the bone and free it a little bit from the meat so you can slide your knife in. Oh my God, is this so much easier than duck or what? After having done a few of these ducks recently, I can tell you this is quite a pleasure. Okay, now get this back. Hey, you work it back. Hey, break the bone off. So much easier. There's that. And we're gonna keep working our way back. This chicken is so soft and tender. You practically don't even need a knife to do this. Okay. And you keep working it down until you've got all the skin is at one end here, completely in one piece, and you've got the bone, and you've got this little splinter bone here that runs off of it. And you're gonna have to take a knife and get rid of that damn thing, because that's the bone that will give you sharp poke in the gums when you're trying to eat this thing later. So make sure you've gotten rid of it, feel it around. Okay, now this skin, the main bone, gets wrapped up a little bit. This is going to get put off to the side. We got to pick through this meat a little bit, make sure we didn't leave any tendons. And in fact, there's one right there. We'll get rid of all that, and then we move on to the other leg, start all over again. I have the skin and leg bones that have been scraped clean of meat. Those are going to be stored in the refrigerator. Now I've got the vegetables that we cooked earlier. These are going to be scraped down into the mixture. And then an egg yolk. The rule of thumb is use one egg yolk for every 2 legs. And now that little dash of cayenne pepper, and we're grinding this up to a smooth paste. This is the force meat stuffing that we're going to be using in just a little bit, so I'm going to cover it up with some cling film and refrigerate it for an hour or so to make it easier to work with. If you're an expert or you're desperate, you can just work with it right now, but it will be more difficult because it'll be running all over your hands while you're trying to seal it up. You know, you can. I've certainly done it in emergencies many times myself, but it's easier to refrigerate it. This has been chilling now for a little bit over an hour. And we have the chicken bones, and just like with the duck, key here to doing it is to stretch it out over your hands. Try not to think about it. You want to cover your hand with the skin and have the bones sticking up in your fist like this. Then you're going to take the filling, and you're not going to get half of this filling in this. You're going to get less than half, and you just have to accept that. What you do with the rest of the filling, make a couple ravioli is a good thing to do. And you can serve the ravioli along with the chicken. Okay. But you're going to get a lot of the filling in there. Okay. And exactly how much you grab is mostly going to be a matter of practice. You're just going to have to do it a few times before you get a good feel for how much filling to stick in this thing. Unlike the duck, this skin can overlap. In fact, it helps it seal, helps it look better. The duck, you can't do that because the duck skin is so fatty and so thick that if you have it overlap, it's going to be tough as hell and chewy and greasy and everything you don't want duck to be. But with chicken skin's nice and thin, and when it cooks out, it cooks even thinner and even better. So, okay. Now once you got a packet like this arranged, and the edges are basically all sealed up, it's not too big a deal, right? It's pretty easy. Then you're going to put it down on the plastic, seam side down, and just kind of clean it up a little bit, and start wrap it up gently at first. Don't try to squeeze it really hard on the first one. Just going to wrap it up nice. Be kind to it. And then we'll put another layer of plastic over the top of this, and when we get down to the foil layer, then we can squeeze it more. But right now we're just trying to get the shape that we want. And here we come with the next layer of plastic over the top. Just squeeze this in together, twisting the ends up, and then I'm going to wrap this up with foil over the top of that. You don't need to squeeze it real hard. It'll be fine. We'll go with some foil. Not difficult at all, really. Looks nice when you're done, but not that difficult. Okay. Yeah, I'm squeezing. I've got the bone end here, and squeezing it a little bit at the bottom just to shape it a little bit. Yeah, this is what I ended up with. We've got 2 packages wrapped. You can see the seam side. When we put these in the steamer, the seam side goes down always. And about this much over for filling. This is just enough for about 2 good-sized ravioli. Good steam coming. Let's take this. Seam side down. And start the timer. Later, when you unwrap this, you've got this little nub here that you still have to take off. But now that it's been steamed, it's going to be really easy to take it off. It's very difficult to get this part off before. And scrape it a little bit and you get clean end of the bone. Deep fryer is hot. There's the ravioli. These are the chicken legs that sat in the refrigerator exposed overnight, actually a little bit more than overnight, so that the skin is nice and dry. Chicken goes in. Also look for my cocktail book, Cocktails of the South Pacific and Beyond, Advanced Mixology, available through Amazon online.